Okay, before I start with the payload installation, what is payload? Any idea what is the payload?
Wait.
Right? It's a weight, additional weight to the drone.
No.
Okay, it could be a payload. But what could be the payloads? Known payloads I'm talking about. A camera is your payload. Gimbal with a camera is a payload. Okay, it could be RGB camera, it could be your thermal camera, it could be a multi-spectral camera, it could be hyperspectral camera. Okay, so this is from capturing videos, photos, images. With that perspective, this could be a payload. What else could be the payload on the drone? The fertilizer tank, the pesticide tank, which I will be connecting to my agribot drone, that could be the payload along with the motor pump is the payload. I can put an empty box which will carry my supplies. It could be medical supplies or it could be food parcel. So that box with the supplies can be my payload. Okay, for example, I can connect a searchlight on my drone to search during my search and rescue missions. That could be my payload. I can put a speaker, like you would have seen during the pandemic situation. Police has used a lot of time drones with the PA system attached to it, so they were able to make the announcement using that speaker system also. Okay, or I can use it for multiple different purposes. The drones for putting the payload. Like I give you example, like currently I have seen a lot of people have put a box below the DJI Phantom drone. Okay, and they have put flowers in it, so they use that as a flower dropping mechanism. So that is also a payload. Even for example, in a fiery situation, there are fire extinguisher balls are available. So the people have made a drone such a way that they can accommodate 4 such balls, so that drone will fly over the fire and it will drop those fire extinguishing balls, okay, into that fire, and that fire is exited. Okay, so that is also one of the payloads I can have. Okay, nowadays we are talking about defense are talking about the drone carrying the missile or grenade or anything like that, or maybe I have seen some videos where they have put AK-47 rifle also or a machine gun on it, so that it can fire rounds through the air itself. So that could be also a payload. Okay, so these are all different examples of payloads. So let's see what is the payload. So payloads, basics of payload, types of payloads, and payload applications. Okay, so payload is the weight a drone or a remotely piloted vehicle, that is RPA, can carry, or unmanned aerial vehicle can carry. Okay, so apart from the drone weight, okay, I told you the drone weight can be less than the 50% of the actual thrust value. Okay, if my thrust value is totaling between 4 motors, if every motor is of 10 kg thrust, 4 motors will carry 40 kg. Half of that will be the total weight. Okay, but my drone weight will not be 50%. My drone weight may be 30% only. So remaining 20% I can utilize for the payload. So that is how I have to design. So I have to, when I'm designing a drone, I have to see this. What could be the weight of my drone coming? What is the weight of my payload? So I have to do all these calculations prior designing my drone. Accordingly, I have to define the type of motor, the propellers, all that things, the battery. So if I'm using this battery, I'm getting so much of power, so much of flight time I would get it. All that things I have to consider. But weight of my battery is 5 kg. So that weight will also add up to my drone weight. Okay. So all these parameters we have to feed, and then we have to come up with the situation like what type of drone I have to buy. Now when I am defining the payloads, my payloads could be anything. It could be camera sensors, it could be missiles, or it could be some kind of a delivery parcels and all that things. Okay, so it is usually counted outside the weight of the drone. So there is one weight which is called a drone weight. Okay, general normal empty drone weight. Then the payload. Then that is the maximum takeoff weight. Okay, so the drone weight plus the payload is your maximum takeoff weight, and that maximum takeoff weight should not be more than 50% of its total thrust value. Okay, and includes any additional to the drone such as extra camera, sensors, or packages for delivery. So Again, you along earlier I told you, like before using the gimbals, people were connecting the camera directly to the drones, and then later on they realized that because of the vibration in the drone, because of you cannot move it, since it is a fixed to the drone, you cannot take a shots, okay, until unless you are just taking a terrestrial footages, okay. But if you want to change the angle of your camera, it becomes very difficult when you have a fixed camera attached to the drone. So then it came the gimbal. So gimbal is used to stabilize the camera payloads that have been mounted on drones and other autonomous vehicles such as UGVs also, okay, underground vehicles also. The gimbal integrates with the IMU. So IMU will give it signals and it will make the gimbal stable, okay. So the moment drone is moving, still your gimbal will auto adjust itself automatically and make your camera more stable, okay. So gimbal integrates with IMU that responds to motion and provides inputs to the controller that activates separate motors. So there are two or three motors are there in gimbal. So it depends upon type of gimbal. It could be 2-axis gimbal, it could be a 3-axis gimbal. So depending upon the motors available and the inputs required, the IMU will give the signals to it. Even the drone is moving or your drone is in a flight, your camera will be always stable. There will not be a jerky motions images or blur motions images, or videos not will be shaky kind of things and all things. So you will have a stable, clear footage of your shots. Either it could be in form of images or it could be in form of videos. Okay, so there are different types of electro-optical payloads, what we call. Okay, so electro-optical payloads can be RGB cameras, it could be thermal camera, it could be LiDAR, it could be multispectral or hyperspectral cameras also. So as you move from RGB towards this side, your payload becomes expensive. Okay, so RGB would be the most least expensive, I would say. Least means it could be maybe starting with 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, depending upon. Thermal cameras will be more expensive than RGB cameras. LiDAR will be more expensive than these. And multispectral and hyperspectral cameras are again more expensive. So LiDAR, multispectral, hyperspectral, they are in a similar range. They are very expensive payload. Sometimes they are more expensive than your drone also. Okay, the total cost of your drone will be much less compared to the payloads also sometimes. Okay, so LiDAR, multispectral, hyperspectral, they are more expensive payloads compared to your drone cost. So let's see what is RGB. RGB is nothing but the human eye is sensitive to red, green and blue band of lights. The most standard drones comes with a camera that captures the same RGB band, so the images they produce recreates almost exactly what our eyes see. So whatever we are seeing through our eyes, how we are interpreting, the RGB camera actually takes the same type of. So the sensor has been designed such a way that it able to capture the same amount of red, green and blue band of lights on the sensor, and it is able to produce the same image what you are able to see through your eye. Okay, so that is what about RGB camera. So with an RGB camera on your drone, you can see the entire field in one place by processing aerial imagery into a orthomorphic map. So these orthomorphic maps are being created later on in the software. So there are different softwares are available which can create these orthomorphic maps. So once you capture the data from your RGB cameras, once you feed those data into the software, then software will create these orthomorphic maps which are useful for quick observation. You can enter your geodata into the GPS, so you can define the GPS coordinates for all these things, and then you can come to the conclusion there which location has what problem, okay, without damaging your entire field. So you can take action like this problem, this area of field might have a problem, or this area of the field might have no, or maybe this area of the field is having problem. So you can always take corrective action for that particular area when it is small. See, if I wait for another week, this area red, what area I am seeing, may completely spread over the field. Okay, so this may damage my entire field. So instead of waiting for that, if I have a footage of available, by looking at the image itself, I can come to know, okay, this is the location where is a problem, this is the location where there is a problem, or this is the location where there is a problem. So I can do a pesticide spraying at this particular location, avoids spreading of diseases or the pest, all that things I can control when it is within my control. If it has spread across the field, then it will be a very challenging situation for me. Okay, that's how I can interpret the data using the RGB data. Okay, Again, a visible camera sensor is a imager that collects the visible light within 400 to 700 nanometers and converts that into electrical signal, then organize the information to render images and video stream. So you can see due to the software, okay, this GIS softwares, we are able to convert the normal images into our information where we require what kind of data we require. Like we can understand what kind of mineralization is there, seed rate is there, soil organic matter we can provide, denitrification zones we can define. Okay, so we can find out which area is having different requirements. Okay, so this is all done into the GIS softwares, through the GIS softwares. Okay, the software stabilization video, like a lot of time, when we do fly a drone for cinematography or we are doing some kind of activity, so we require a lot of time to be locked the object into the center of the my view. Okay, so that point we have to track. So we have to enable, like right now all the cameras and gimbals are available in such a way that we have those are smart tracking is available. Okay, so video process steers the gimbal to maintain the object of interest inside the video frame, even if the object is moving. Like I am taking a cycling footages or running footages you would have seen on online, right? A lot of time people captures the moving cycles or even the car racings or Formula One car shooting is happening. A lot of time, those shootings are being taken using the drones also nowadays. So because you have to match the speed of the car, match the speed of the person flying, trying, cycling or running and all the things. So that point in time we have to keep a track. Okay, if for example Usain Bolt is running on the runway or on the track and field, so we have to track that particular. So you can lock your camera to that particular person also, and you can take the footage. Okay. Again, application like we talked about Kumbh Mela, right? Prayagraj. So a lot of time we have to do monitoring. So traffic monitoring also can be done using taking the photos and all the things. We can always zoom it to the extent that we can clearly see the pictures of the people's face. Okay. Again, crowd monitoring, especially at the tolls or those locations, there are RGB sensors have been put. Nowadays, people are talking about flying the drones so that people are not aware where the camera has been mounted. Okay, because fixed camera, people know that okay, this camera is there, here and there. So there is a talk happening between that, rather putting fixed cameras and monitoring the speed of the cars, we can randomly fly the drone a particular location and track the cars for the speed motions. Okay, so that is also been possibility in near future. Then again, our application of RGB in disaster management, drone can be used for fire detection, intervention monitoring, and also for post-fire monitoring also, that you can do analysis post-fire, what the disaster or what damage has been happened due to the fire. Similarly, border security, we have seen this in current war with the Pakistan, that drone is very much required to monitor the border area. So it is very difficult to monitor such a large border, especially such a hostile border with Pakistan as our neighbor. Okay, so we can't fence it everywhere. We cannot have a person runner, and even most of the time the post, okay, the military posts are not very close to the border. They are somewhere deep inside, maybe 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers away from the border actually. Okay, so sometimes even 10-20 kilometers they are away from the border. So it is not possible every now and then a person to go near the border area and check whether there is any infiltration is happening or there is any what we call hostile situations are happening over there. So it is very easy to fly a drone over this area and easy to monitor that, rather risking the life of human beings or our soldiers. So we can always send a drone remotely. We can take the footage of the particular location and we can keep on observing the borders from remote location itself. So the drone has been very, very immensely helpful in such kind of situations. Okay, so these are some of the applications for RGB sensors in aerial surveillance. They are used of an unmanned and increasingly complete automated drone inspection has already caused huge waves in asset management sector. Like I told you about power line tower monitoring, wind turbines, telecom towers are there, then your railway lines are there, roads are there, then your water towers are there, dams, bridges, all this infrastructure or asset management. We can fly the drones. A lot of tenders. There are a lot of, at least I would talk about, as I'm talking, there is a tender getting launched for any kind of a surveillance. There are huge, I mean, I told you the surveillance market is the biggest market in the drone as of now. So they are almost captured, I would say 65% of the drone industry by the surveillance. Remaining, I think 20% is agriculture. Then the third comes the aerial photography, okay, and then subsequent industry is been using drone for the surveillance part or adoption of the drones. Okay, so application of RGB, solar farm, wind farms, railways, bridges, power lines, mobile phone towers, oil and gas, water pipes. Okay, there are classic examples. I have a lot of case studies around oil and gas, water pipes. Okay, we were using, I mean, I was working with one of the organizations where they have doing surveillance of water pipes using thermal cameras. Okay, so normal RGB camera, when we were doing the surveillance on water pipe, it was just giving us upper layer footages. But using the thermal cameras, we were able to interpret the internal of the pipes. So there was a lot of corrosion was happening from the from the outside. The pipe was looking neat and clean and good, but all of a sudden one day there could be a blast. Okay, because of the high pressure water going and the corrosion happened, that water has damaged the pipes from the internals. Okay, so there was a corrosion happening from the internal. One day that pipe got busted out. Okay, so rather waiting for such kind of a reactive situation, by flying the drone with the thermal sensors, we are able to monitor the integrity of the material of the pipe from the internal side also. Okay, so we were able to get all the information wherever we found, you know, in the our thermal analysis, we were able to find the pipes where possibility there was a more huge corrosion. So people have taken a corrective actions, replaced those particular parts of the pipes or those points where they have rectified and all the things, and saved a big problem in near future. Okay, possibly there could be some similar kind of burst could have happened in the water pipelines. So similarly, like even power line towers also, when we were doing RGB footage and we also acquired thermal footages, in thermal we found that those wires which were used, you know, those were heating up. Okay, when the power was getting transmitted, and you know, we have seen the different thermal images for different things. So depending upon the grade of the wire was used, the thermal images were differing. So that's how we come to know the vendor who has done the work for that particular point in time for the towers. Okay, where the good quality of wires were there, we are getting a different images. Where there were bad quality or maybe low grade quality of wires were used, we are getting different. So low quality grade of wires were hitting much. Okay, so possibly those wires will get very fastly worn out, or they will get oxidized very fastly, or they will get over the period time they will break. Okay, because of always heating, cold in the evening, in the night the wires were cooling down, in the daytime because of the power getting transmitted, that time it was getting more. So this continuous temperature variation in the material is causing deformity in those material, and eventually some other day it will break. Okay, it will become fragile and it will become break. So to avoid that situation, flying the thermal drones was very useful in that area, and we were able to tell, and then they were able to correct and ask the vendor to replace those wires with a good quality wires, or they are able to take the corrective actions wherever they are finding the wires was having problems. Okay, similarly building and construction area also, you know, you can like leakages is there, or even internal structures of the building or the construction areas also can be analyzed using RGB sensors. Okay, so application of other, again, mapping, 2D mapping with the fixed camera, 3D mapping with the gimbal cameras. Application of RGB in mining, again mining is one of the segment which is extensively drones have been adopted now. Erosion detection, boundary management, project progress monitoring. Okay, so like for example in real estate, a lot of people are using drones to keep their clients updated on the progress of the project also, like how much building, 1 floor, 2 floor, 3 floor, 10 floors, 15 floors in a particular time frame, you know, so they are able to showcase the differences in the work, amount of the work done in, you know, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months period of time. So they are actually able to capture. Earlier this was done manually or in the traditional way, which was very tedious, and you don't used to get that much footages or that much data was not available. But because of the drone flying, you have got different types of images as well as videos are available with you, and very structured and uniform way. Okay, So you can get a very good reports generated once you have a proper data available with you. Okay, thermal camera, thermographic cameras or infrared cameras detects the infrared light or a heat invisible to human eye, so which we are not able to see. The thermal images are also known as thermal camera. Is essentially a heat sensor. They are basically a heat sensors. They capture the differences in the heat in the subject, and the software which actually converts these differences in the heat signal and converts them into the electronic image. Okay, so this device connects the infrared radiation from the object in the scene and creates electronic image based on the information about the temperature differences. So whatever you are seeing, the image is getting created. This is actually capturing the difference in the temperatures. Okay, so that's why how the image is being captured in the thermal cameras, the sensors. So what are the applications of the thermal payloads? Originally developed for surveillance and military. So normally initially thermal cameras were predominantly used by military surveillance and military people. Okay. However, now thermal cameras have even come into the commercial space also, like building inspection, moisture, insulation, roofing, firefighting, autonomous vehicle, autonomic braking, skin temperature monitoring. We have seen during the COVID time, skin temperature was monitored remotely by using thermal cameras. Industrial inspections, especially in refineries and all those locations, it is very extensively used, the thermal cameras. Then solar panel inspection. Again, solar, I told you that, during in Gujarat, lot of places there are solar farms. So lot of people are employed, the drone flying with the thermal sensors for solar panel inspections, power line inspections, pipeline inspection, wildlife monitoring. So all these locations, all these areas, you can use thermal payloads. Okay, so these are some examples: building inspection, moisture. This is how the images will look inside your thermal sensors and data. Okay, firefighting, autonomous vehicle and autonomic braking, skin temperature monitoring. I gave you example during the COVID times, or even at the airports or some sensitive areas. Still, they have sensors where they monitor the skin temperature using thermal payloads. Industrial inspections, like pharmaceutical companies, your refineries, or even the mechanical company, mechanical industrials. Okay, L&T like organization, they are all using thermal payloads for inspection series. Solar panels. Okay, power line inspection. Okay, so that was all about thermal payload. Next is LiDAR sensor technology. This is actually a LiDAR sensor technology. Basically is nothing but light detection and ranging. Sensor uses light energy emitted from a laser to scan the ground and measure the variable distance. So it is basically giving a laser pulse. Okay, it will throw the pulse, it will reflect back, it will sense the distance. Okay, so it will capture all that information and it will create a picture. Okay, so the 3D picture will. What is LiDAR technology drone? LiDAR drones are any drones that carries LiDAR sensor. So there are drones specifically with the LiDAR fitted itself. Okay, they are used to collect data that can be used to make the detailed 3D model for a variety of applications and industries. So depending, like especially in forest, or maybe agriculture, or maybe geological society, geological people will use LiDAR drones for capturing the location or area, structure, or the images. Okay, so LiDAR, which stands for light detection ranging, is a remote sensing technology. Okay, so it is earlier LiDAR, before drone adopting the LiDAR was used on the satellites. That's why it comes under the remote sensing technology that uses laser beam to get information about surrounding objects. Since its inception, scientists have used LiDAR to map the Earth's surface. That's what I tell you, geological people, and acquire meteorological data also. Even the meteorological people, weather people, are also using LiDAR to understand the ground structure of the Earth. So agriculture, forest, LiDAR to inspect vegetation such as leaves, crops, all above the ground imagery. For example, forest canopy, when there is huge area covered with the leaves and all the things, so it's very difficult to reach to the ground, so we will not able to understand the terrain over there. So normally in this scenario, like your RGB camera or your thermal sensors cameras will not be effective. So in that scenario, we will normally use the LiDAR. Okay, so this can give me how much ground is there, how much it has been covered by the canopy or with the vegetation and all the things. So even in our power line towers, we were supposed to fly a drone with the lidar also to capture the vegetation grown around the tower. Okay, so power board also required that kind of information was there. So they have asked us to fly a normal drone with RGB camera. They have asked us to fly a drone with thermal camera, and they have asked us to fly a drone with the lidar camera also. But unfortunately, when we were doing the project, it was very expensive. Even the drone with the lidar was not available at that point in time. So we have convinced. I mean, we asked the board why they want lidar to be specifically used. What was that? What is that they're going to interpret, or what is that they're looking with that lidar data? Then we understood that they wanted the footage of the tower base where there would be a lot of grass or a lot of vegetation would have grown, so that they can appoint a vendor with the respective towers for that vegetation to be cleaned up. Okay, so they wanted to have that photo prior, before, and after the work has been done by the vendor. So before he doing the work, we'll capture the vegetation images, and then once he had done the images, the vendor had done the work, we'll again capture the images where we'll see the difference in vegetation getting removed from the base of the tower. Okay, application of the drones. Drones can help farmers to optimize use of input, seed, fertilizer to react more quickly, threat weight. So if we are not aware, see, manually or physically I can go in the farm and check, but it's a very difficult. For example, if it is a 1 acre land, I can still manage. Okay, but if suppose I am having 10 acres of land, 20 acres of land, 50 acres of land, 100 of acres of land, then it is manually monitoring the agricultural land is very, very difficult. So in that scenario, drone is the best option available, where you can fly the drone and capture as much as possible the view of the thing, and you can do real-time analysis of your crop. Okay, you can understand where the crop is healthy, where the crop has been affected by the pesticide or whatever it is. That will tell you, and it will help you to take the corrective actions, and it will help you to improve your variable rate and real-time estimate the yield from the field. So you will actually able to predict what could be your yield by considering your data over there. Okay, again there are plenty of applications of drones. Okay, using the payloads, like they have put a light below the drone. Okay, so this is a RGB light actually, and they fly multiple drones. This is called as the SWAN technology. Okay, so they use the SWAN technology. They may fly 100, 500, 1000, 2000, 3000, 5000 drones at the same time. There is a software used to do all these activities. So they will program the entire software, the flying motion of every drone, and by controlling the lights and the position of the drones, they can create images. So whatever the images you are seeing, these are the only lit drones, but there are other drones also flying around it, which may have put off their lights. So depending upon the way you create images in your software, the drones will show you that particular image. So there are very good drone shows being organized by a lot of Indian vendors, as well as there are some external vendors also there. Okay, so with that we complete our topic on the payload installation and utilization. Any questions on payload? You have any query related to payload? No questions?
No sir, no doubt.
Okay. So right now it is 4 p.m. You want to take a break, or we will continue with the last topic so that we can wind up early today? Yes, Rohit?
Our thermal drones, which I have seen the graph, will be red and green, yellowish. And I want to know, like, do we need to do settings for that? Yeah, the thermal drones are like, automatically they will capture.
Automatically it will detect. Automatically. It has been preset.
Okay. And
the color coding is been preset.
Color coding. And the heating is red, correct?
Yeah, the more heat will be red.
More heat will be. And it can be visible through walls also and everything.
Yeah. So whatever it depends upon the type of sensor, how much depth it can sense the temperature differences. It depends on that. Okay, so there are very high quality sensors are there. Actually, I was having a sensor here, but I don't know where I kept it. I have a small thermal sensors also available.
Acha.
Normally, I have not used it for last 6 months. I used to demonstrate the people how this thermal sensor can detect. I made a small module out of it for the thermal sensor for demonstration purposes. Earlier, I used to teach
Now,
about the electronics, so that time I used to do all those things. Yeah.
acha, the thermal drone, you can use manually also. Like,
You get a thermal gun also available. There are thermal guns are also available where you can manually capture the data also.
you can, that's illegal. Like,
Yeah. People use it. A lot of people use in construction field.
okay, that the monitoring for.
For the walls and all the things. So a lot of people have to lot of time you have to sense where the wire line is connected, where the water lines are there, because a lot of things are now concealed. If you see the current constructions in the building, everything is concealed. So you do not, if you do not have a map, you do not know where it is. So sometimes you want to find out, or sometimes there is a leakage also happening. So you have to trace from where the leakage is the source. So you use thermal cameras for that purposes.
Got it. There was a question also, like in the thermal drones are used for mostly for. I was really confused for that. It's used for solar, yeah, for lining work. Like there were four options:
Solar and sorry,
solar and the lining, wire lining,
power line towers.
power line. Yeah.
Power line towers. Yes.
So mostly thermals are used for, I think so, power line,
Power line, pipeline. I give you example of pipeline also, no, water pipeline.
water pipeline, and
Right, because from the RGB camera when I am capturing, the pipeline looks very neat and clean. But I do not know what is the internal structure. So thermal was giving me the good values. Like where there was a corrosion, there was a different. I let me see. Hold on, I have a picture. See this. You can see it.
yes.
So this I cannot see through the RGB. I can take a footage from outside. मेरा बहुत color किया रहेगा तो और अच्छा लगता है. Pipe, everything is good, neat and clean. But you see, these are the points which are very problematic points on the pipeline.
So the red one is blockage,
The red ones are the rusting
rusting.
happening inside. The normal pipe is green and blue. You can see.
Yes, yes.
Normal, whereas red and all the things, this is damaged. These are damaged pipes. So there is a difference in the temperature over that location. So any given point in time, there could be a bursting over happening at this location. Can happen at this location. So see, water is flowing from this location, and it was creating corrosive at this. See, you see where there is a straight line, your water is not impacting the pipeline. But wherever there is a bend or a short structure, there is chances, because friction is also happening here too much. Okay, so water is corrosing, damaging the pipe from internals. The pipe अच्छा दिख रहा है, pipe is looking very neat, good, clean. So if I do not do thermal analysis, I do not know about it. So this is a different way, new way of doing the monitoring now. This has given a different perspective to look after the towards the pipelines. Okay. lot of time pipelines are dug inside. I mean, they are inside the what is that we call ground. So that also, like even in the same is applicable in the industrial monitoring also. Okay, so lot of information is not easily recognizable, understandable in a visual range. Lot of information we can get it using thermal. So thermal is another sector which is usually used by the drones for surveillance or monitoring purpose.
Yes.
So there is a huge, I mean, surge in usage of. I mean, earlier it started with solar panels, okay, but later on, they started incorporating the thermal sensors for different. Wherever there is a structure, metal, heat is involved. See, heat is everywhere involved, right? It is not that we can't think about, like nobody thought about that power lines, heat, and all the things. But when we started capturing this image, and then we saw that okay, this can be an useful information available for people, and people can analyze. And then we showed. I mean, initially we were also not aware what could we interpret from it. But then when we showed it to the board inquired with the people, then they came to know, okay, these two wires are of different grades, different type of materials. That's why these two images are different. Till that nobody was knowing, because बाहर wire तो copper wire दिख रहा है, but the quality of copper wire is different. The good quality copper, like 24 karat gold looks same, and even 22 karat gold looks same. But when you analyze them on 22 and 24, understand that 22 karat gold is having more copper in that, whereas 24 karat gold is more pure. So, but both when you see under the thermal images, they will give you a different thermal images out of it. Yes, Kedar.
Sir, have you ever worked on solar drones?
Solar panel?
Power drone. Solar power drone.
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. Anybody has. I don't know whether you are aware. Anybody has that kind of drone in India?
That is actually I didn't know. So recently
I don't think so. Anybody. Yeah, I don't think so. Anybody has that type of drone available in India.
Okay.
There are some companies which are testing. Yesterday, if you see that example I was given, solar power drones, right? There are some companies in US and Europe. I think in what is that? Sweden or Norway, those location people are developing such kind of drones, but they are not successful. They are still on prototype.
Okay.
But Saudi also has a solar drone which they are working on it, and maybe they got success also for trying.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. There are people, organization working worldwide who on this type drone, but they are still in a prototype. There is no successful.
Not something they are trying. Oman has a solar drone also, but they are working on it.
Yeah.
Officially, they
full-fledged application is still not yet developed, or we can't say that it's 100% solar. There are people who are developing. You see, developing a solar drone is not a big deal. You can just have a solar panel. Solar will capture the power, convert that solar signal into the electrical signal, and then you will fly the drone. But how much efficiency and how much you will get it out of it, so that ROI has to be there. Okay, if you are getting a very good ROI and everything, then it will be a successful. अगर वो same concept, same battery, same charging करना पड़ रहा है, then it's like a EV vehicle, right? We are talking about that we have a EV vehicle, we are using electrical energy, okay, and reducing carbon footprint. But that electrical energy is coming from where? We are burning the coal, right, to generate that electricity. So it is not really 100% carbon free or kind of thing. The same thing is also for solar panels. Like, अगर मेरे को ROI नहीं मिल रहा है, I am not able to get that efficiency by doing the flight. It's not really a valuable solution. Not at least for a small drones. The big drones like fixed wing drones which are flown. That example what I showed you yesterday. That scenario probably it can give you some kind of ROI, but not for a small quadcopter or anything for that. Solar. Right? Okay, so let's take a 10 minutes break, and then we'll come back for the last topic, that is drone data and analysis. Okay, that's just the introductory topic. It will not take much time. So we'll wind up 30 minutes in that, and then probably I will run you through the Digital Sky platform, and then we can take up some questions if you have, or we can close today a little bit early. Okay, so by 5:30, I am expecting at least by 5:30 to complete it. Okay.